Torah. So welcome one and all. Before we get to the last mission on Chav Dalet Amud Aleph, we're going to continue to look a little more at the Rambam because there's something specific that I really wanted to show you last we learned that we just didn't get to. So I brought the Rambam. But the Gemara that we're up to, just to remind you, just sort of the skira, thematically, if you will, in terms of the prakim and how they go, is the rest of the second parak and into the third parak. So this is sort of a strange pass from the second parak into the third parak, as you'll see when we get there. Let's do the long section. Anyway, the subject of Kiddush Hachodesh continues until Chav Vav Amud Bet. And on Chav Vav Amud Bet, 26b, that's where things are going to shift, and we're really going to be talking about the Yom Tov of Rosh Hashanah from there pretty much to the end of the Masechta. So this is, and why I bring this up is the last two Mishnayot that we have here in Parak, the last a page and plus, it's two Mishnayot really in Parak. It's for you. In Parak Sheni, Einan Makirin, are about the last phases of understanding what happens at the time of the Kiddush HaChodesh, particularly as relates to the Beit Din of Rabban Gamliel. Both of these, this Mishnah that we'll see, and the next one as well. So I thought this was a good cutoff point to go into the Rambam, because the Rambam organizes everything for us of what the Kiddush HaChodesh is, how the mitzvah works. We saw that last time. We're not going to rehash it now. We saw Prakim Aleph, Bet, and we saw a part of Gimel, right? We got. If you look at it, it's on page. We did page 1, 2, 3, 4. We're on page 5 at the top, and we said pasuk halacha yud perik bet halacha yud page 5. We learned as follows: Beitin she kitshu ad hachodesh ben shogin ben mutin ben anusim harezim mekudesh. If the Beit Din made a decision to be mekadesh the chodesh, even if it was a mistake, even if they shouldn't have done it and they did it, so they did it, it's enough. Then it's already mekudesh. There's nothing you can do. The declaration. It's a question. What does anusim mean? How did they get to that? So it could be they were under some kind of a time pressure. I guess that would be, you could say, well, that's still under the rubric of being shogegin. The point here is that there's some pressure, even if it's an external pressure. Once the Beit Din decided and declared, it's done. That's how strong it is. That's the koach of the Beit Din. And we had seen this. It's okay. Give me one of the other packets. I gave that one to Mayor. So yeah, good. Okay, so that was page. What was it? Page 5. Yeah. Yeah. So now, if you look at page 5, the next thing is Parak Shlishi. So we're sort of reviewing what we saw into the Gemara already. So Edim Shirot HaChodesh im haya beineim uvein makom sheyesh bo beitin ma'alach laila v'yom o pachot holchin me'idin v'im haya beineim yater al kain lo yalchu sheneduton achar yom shloshim mu'elet shekvar nit'aber HaChodesh. Since every month it's either going to be 29 days or 30 days, if the witnesses live outside of the radius where they could possibly get to Yerushalayim within a day, it doesn't matter, because on day 31, there is no day 31. It'll become day 1 automatically the next month. So they're too far away, and that's it. It's the end, right? So basically, there is a certain radius within which the Edim will be able to come. Today, of course, well, it's going to happen by Shlishi. I don't know. First of all, the post going to have to decide if Zoom is going to be good enough. Zoom testimony. During COVID, remember, there were people going to court on Zoom. So will that work? But aside from that, you're going to have, motorcycles, I guess, motorcyclists taking, because the traffic can be pretty bad on the Ayalon. I was driving on it a few days ago. It'd be pretty bad. But if you're in a motorcycle, you can zip right through the traffic and bingo. You take that, the Kvish Echad, and you go to Yerushalayim. The right lane, right. In the right lane. For Adim, go this way, right? Helicopter. The point is, there might be the radius probably expanded. So turn to the next page 6. Adim Shirot HaChodesh Harei L'Hochen LeBeitin L'Ha'id V'Afil Haya Shabbat Shnei Matzikru Otam Mo'adam Yochom HaKom Shenemer Mo'ed Docher HaShabbat. Right? They see it. They would go to the Beit Din to testify, even if it was Shabbos. Why? Because of the way the pasuk is structured. We learn it's going to push off Shabbos. Lefichach, a mechalin ela al Rosh Chodesh Nisan, ve'al Rosh Chodesh Tishrei, bilvad. Why? Mipnei takan moedo. It has to be somewhat related to setting up the holidays. Of course, when we learned it, we had a whole question about Tishrei. What do you mean Rosh Chodesh Tishrei? It's also Rosh Hashanah. So what are you doing? All right, but we talked about the idea that it's still, at least they couldn't fix Rosh Hashanah, which is why eventually they made it 2 days everywhere in Israel, outside of Israel. But okay, maybe the people could still go and get there to fix things so that by the time you get to Sukkot, that will be on the correct day, right? So and it mentions it was man shebeit mikdash kayam mechalin al kulan mipnei korban musaf shebechol rosh chodesh shu docher haShabbat. Right. So when there's a korban, so then it does matter because that day is going to be the difference on Rosh Chodesh what the korban is, if it's a korban musaf for Rosh Chodesh or not. So you want the Edom to come in order to declare that. Gimel. Geshem shemachalin ha'edim shiro shiro et a chodesh et a Shabbat kam chalin imayin ha'edim shemezakyin otam bebeitin im lo hayu beitin makirin et aroin. Unless they're the professional witnesses who were known in the town, they had what's it called, global entry. They had a special extra, a real ID is the one I was looking for. So otherwise, you had to bring other witnesses to vouch for those witnesses. Who are those witnesses? Maybe they need witnesses. Were they witnesses? So it's sort of like the Fanei Nechtav from Gittin that we saw. You need a second pair that are known to the Beit Din of the place you're going to, presumably, and they're authenticating. Or maybe we said, well, maybe you could say it's just that they're not going to have so many people in a conspiracy lying. But of course, that is always the possibility. So who knows? Va'afilu hayazeh shemodia oten lebeitin eid achad hareza holich iman mechal misafek shamim tzarcher vitzarif imo. Right? It's not a pair going to Beit Din from wherever they are. Abu Ghosh, it's only one person. So why does he go? He can't testify by himself. You need two witnesses. Maybe someone else came from another place, and that person is going to join him and then make a pair. Right? So could be.
That makes a cut.
Yeah, that's the point. Unlike
That's a big Kiddush.
Yeah. They don't have to come together. They don't have to know each other. Yeah. That's true. Well, yeah, I suppose. Haya eight shirad Hachodesh belel Shabbat chole markivin oto lachamor v'afil b'mitah. So now we have United Hatzalah with the lights going. They're driving the guy in. Yeah, that's what it says. V'im yesh lahen orev baderech l'chim edim biyadon klei zayin. If there might be an ambush waiting for them to try to stop them, then everyone's allowed to carry weapons as well. Yeah. Okay. So then next page, right? To Machal Shabbos, Machalin, yeah. To get there. You carry the food. Again, there's a carrying issue, yeah? One is the tchum issue. Another one is the carrying issue. Another one is the riding issue, riding on an animal. Now, would you be Machal Deoraita to get there? Sounds like it, if need be. In the olden days, what were they going to do to get there? They're going to ride on a horse. It's not Deoraita. So it's the Rabbanan. On Shabbos. Yeah. Now, right. But, yeah, I'm saying, but you might think maybe Mechal Shabbat means Mechal things Deorabanan, not Deoraita. But you are Mechal Deoraita as well. That's to get there.
It's still Mechalel.
But Deorabanan.
Yeah.
Riding was Deorabanan, yeah. So continuing. The top of the page, the end of the first line. Page Gimel is page 7.
Well, wait, isn't the Tchum Deoraita?
Yeah.
Good question.
So,
According to most, yeah.
Yeah, so what if they're going outside the Tchum, it's automatically Deoraita no matter how they get there?
Yeah. Well, there's a machloket about how usher the Tchum Shabbos is actually in the circumstances of Bar Mitzvah, so that's the whole point. Right? Because it's going to supersede it. So, okay. Oh, sorry, I skipped something, didn't I? Sorry. Vafilra gadol v'nira lakol lo yomru k'shim shirinu anachnu ra'u acherim v'enu tzrichim l'chal Shabbat ela kol mi sheyira achodesh v'yeh ra'ui la'id v'yeh beino lebein makom shekavua bo beitin laila v'yom o pachot. It's one night and one day, so or less. So mitzvah l'chal Shabbat v'leich la'id, and he should go and he should testify. Yeah. So even if everybody saw it, they're not going to need me. They for sure saw it. Malaya Dumim, they said, well, we're not going to bother, waste of time No, if you saw it, you should go. So you'd have a lot of people converging, even if it meant breaking Shabbos with Suffolk. Yeah, because then what would happen otherwise? We talked about last time. No one will go. Everyone will say someone else will do it. Someone else will do it. Yeah. Never doubt the possibility of the psychology of the mob, of the crowd. Yeah.
Mhm.
Where the energy is diffused and no one does it.
Yeah.
Halacha hey, Barishona yom makabel mitzvah chodesh kol yom shloshim. Pam achat nishtal ha'edim lavo ad ben harbaim v'nitkalklu b'mikdash v'lo yadu ma yasu im yasu ola shel ben harbaim shema yavo ha'edim v'yavsha shiakrivu musaf hayom achar tamid shel ben harbaim. The last korban of the day is tamid shel ben harbaim. Once you do the musaf, you cannot go back and do the korban shel ben harbaim, which is mincha. Cannot go back and do the korban musaf. So they're waiting. The edim never came. Had they come that night, and then the Beit Din gets together after sunrise, so they're going to do it at 9 a.m., 8, 10 a.m., 11 a.m. Plenty of time to do the Korban Musaf. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock. The Edom never came, so they don't know what to do. If they're going to give the Korban Bein Harba'im, Tamish Bein Harba'im, and then they're going to come after, be too late. So they didn't know what to do. So Amdu Beit Din V'hitkinu. Right. So at one time there was a kill call. Need kalkul b'mikdash. They just didn't know what to do. All right. And sometimes they would give the korban tavet ben harbayim regular weekday, and then the edim show up 2:45 in the afternoon. So we just gave the korban, 2:44. We got to check them, and how are you going to declare the new month? You can't go back and give the korban musaf. So that's that. Amdu beitin v'itkinu shlo yiyu makabli made it a chodesh ela ara mincha kedei sheyeh sheut biyom lak musaf and utmidin shall be in harbayim and iskayim. So until the time of mincha, it means what's called mincha gedola, 12:30 p.m. and onward on a perfect day, a day of equinox, 6 a.m. sunrise, 6 p.m. sunset. So in that situation, then you're going to say it's okay to have the witnesses come. After that, too late. And if they come after that, no, it's automatically the next day.
We may have learned this. Aiding don't show up
At all?
at all.
The next day is Rosh Chodesh. That night, the sun sets.
That's not my question.
Oh,
Does Betin have the koach to bring a korban musaf on
without Adam?
without Aiding? And
They
why?
cannot declare Chodesh.
They do. They do. If Aiden don't show up, they declare it's Rosh Chodesh.
Down to the next
The
day.
next day.
I know that the next day. So if they have the koach to do that, why don't they have the koach
On the same day.
the day that
The Adam are supposed to come. Day 30. Call it day 30.
call it day 30 or call it day 1?
Okay.
They
Why is it?
haven't come on day 30. So
Right.
Hikin Rabbanan, day 1 is Rosh Chodesh. That's the process, correct?
Which comes after day 30.
Yes.
31.
So why don't they declare on day 1, in that example, they should bring a korban musaf?
They do.
Yeah.
What's the
They
problem?
automatically Rosh Chodesh.
They do.
We do. I'm not sure. I'm not. Hold on. I'm not sure what you're asking. What we saw last time was a three-way machloket about when the Beit Din actually has to be Makadosh the Chodesh. Is it when the Adim come, or if the Adim don't come? Is it only when the Adim come, and otherwise time just takes its course, and the next day, day 31 becomes day 1? Which day will be day 1? Day 30 or day 31? So again, either the witnesses come on day 30, in which case they say Makudesh, and that day 30 becomes day 1. If they didn't come, maybe the next day automatically. Maybe it's a ceremony that has to happen. Always, they're always going to say Makudesh, whether it's the Adim came on day 30 or they didn't come on day 31, they're going to announce now this is day 1. In either case, option 3, only on the second day of Rosh Chodesh they announce Makudesh. On the first day, if the Adim come, so great, it's Rosh Chodesh, and that's the end. They don't have to say Makudesh. That's only maybe the second. It was a three-way machloket that we saw. It was on page 23b, and it's into 24a. That's what we talked about this. Sorry, it's really 24a. Rosh Beitin, in the Gemara there. If you see it, you say the Mishna, you have the Tanakama, Rabbi Elazar Bar Tzadok, and later on we got to someone named Plamo. There were three different approaches. What you could have asked me is, let's say they thought the witnesses were going to come on day 30 because they calculated that's when it's supposed to come, but the guys never showed up. It's getting a little bit later in the day. So you know what? They're not here, but we're baiting. We announced day 30. It's really day 1. Could they do that? Well, I thought the whole point was the witnesses have to show up. Now the witnesses never came.
Yet. No, but-
yet and may not show
Well, they
up.
might not show up, so then it's you know.
So that's the question. So let's see what the Rambam does. It's an excellent question, actually. Excellent question.
Glad you asked.
No, you asked it. I just filled out what you were asking. That's what you were asking. So when you look at halacha, so we saw halacha hey. Now look at halacha vav. V'im higya min chavlo ba'u edim. Osi tami shel ben abayim. V'im ba'u edim min chavlo mala. If they came after that, so nohagin oto hayom kodesh ulamachar kodesh umakrin musaf lemachar lefish le'imakadshim oto achar mincha.
That's
Oh, well, we just have to keep reading. So while there was still a Beit HaMikdash, if the witnesses came after the Beit Din had already told, they're not told. The Beit Din, they already gave the korban Tamid Ben Arbayim, regular day, said Shir Shel Yom of that day. It's a Wednesday. They said the Shir Shel Yom, and then the witnesses come at 3:40. They rush, and they announce Mekudesh. Can't give a korban Musaf. So when are they going to do it? The next day. It's going to end up being a 2-day Rosh Chodesh. That's when we get the 2-day Rosh Chodesh.
2-day Rosh Chodesh on day. Yeah, I see.
Yeah, day 30.
Day 30.
And then the next day is day 1, but it's a 2-day Rosh Chodesh, just like we have today. Day 30, day 1.
Right.
Except which day do they consider the first day of the next month? The day the Aiden came after Mincha?
It must be. It must really be the next day. Right.
Okay, so it's the same as if the witnesses didn't come at all.
But in that case, they did say Mekudesh.
So therefore.
And actually that day is Kodesh and the next day is Kodesh. Now, Lamai Nafka Mina, because you didn't give a Korban Musaf. When there's a Beit HaMikdash, it's not clear that everybody's saying Shmona Esrei with the Yalav Yavo, but had there been such a thing, then they would have done that. Women, there was a minhag that many women had. I don't know if it was going at the time of the Mishna and the Gemara. I mean, Astam it was that they didn't do malacha on Rosh Chodesh. There would be no hispedim on Rosh Chodesh. You couldn't declare a tanid on Rosh Chodesh. There were certain nafkaminot, even if there was no Yalav Yavo written yet. Yeah,
And these nafkamino would begin from the time the Adim appeared. 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
yeah, weird, right? Yeah, weird.
Yeah, really weird.
Then again, I don't know what would have happened if there was like a Levaya, God forbid, in the morning. Would they tell the people, okay, you can have a spadim because the witness didn't come, and say the witnesses are still going to come today, probably, so there's no hispadim. I don't know how that worked.
Wait, the morning of
Before the witnesses came on this last day, day 30.
So it's not Rosh Chodesh yet.
Before, yeah, right. If it wasn't Rosh Chodesh yet,
That's what I'm saying.
It hasn't
Strange.
been declared yet.
It hasn't been declared.
right? But just so you understand, we're calling it Kodesh. He doesn't call it Rosh Chodesh. He calls it Kodesh. Kodesh, Oto Yom Kodesh, Lamacha Kodesh. 2 days of Kodesh, Kedushat Rosh Chodesh. I want to take back one thing that I said. Yalav Yavo was written by Anshe Knesset Agdola. What I meant, for sure, it's part of the Amida. The question is, were they reciting a Tfilat Musaf entirely on the day of Rosh Chodesh because the korban was being given? And I don't exactly know the answer to that. Certainly in Bayit Rishon, that's because Agdola hadn't lived yet, so then it wouldn't be operative. Bayit Sheni, I'm not sure what was going on. Because there's a 70-year gap between Churban Bayit Rishon and the building of Bayit Sheni, right? Or the inauguration of Bayit Sheni. So what's happening in that 70-year gap? That's the period of the Anshe Knesset Agdola. So, and you have some examples where people certainly were davening every day. Take as an example, it's in Nach, it's in the Sefer Daniel. Daniel is described as someone who goes to prison for davening, facing in a window facing Yerushalayim from Bavel. He was told the king made a rule: no one's allowed to pray to anybody. No one prays, and he prayed. So it sounds like it was a regular daily prayer, actually. Anyway, back to the Rambam. So look at it's the first of the wide lines on this page. I'm on page 7 still that I wrote in pen. Mishachar Beit HaMikdash, after the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, Hitkin Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai Beit Dino. Remember, there's still Eidim coming. But then, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai Beit Dino, so you Makablian Eidim HaChodesh, Kol Hayom Kulo. V'afilu ba'al Eidim Yom Shloshim b'sof hayom, some of this Kiracham, Makablian Edutan, U'mekachim Yom Shloshim bilvad. You see that? Because there was no Korban Musaf that still had to be given, oddly enough, in the time of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, if day 30, 10 minutes before sunset, The two witnesses come blazing into Yerushalayim, or actually, in his case, after Yerushalayim as well, to Yavne. They come running in. We saw it. We saw it. What did you see? Did you see this? They show them the charts. Yeah, this. They test them. Mekudesh. Sun sets a minute later. Mazel Tov. That was Rosh Chodesh. Tonight is already day 2 of the month.
Okay.
Right. This is not what we have today. Today we have a calendrical system, right? 30 days, 29 days, 30 days, 29 days. Sometimes you have 30 days, some days 29, depending on how the year is shaping up. More on that in a moment. Halacha Zayin. Kshema abrin beitin et hachodesh mipnei shelo ba'u edim kol yom shloshim hayu olin lemakom muchan v'osim bo seuda b'yom echad u'shloshim shel Rosh Chodesh. What was the symbol of Rosh Chodesh? Not a declaration. If the witnesses didn't come, they make a nice Suda. Suda Rosh Chodesh. That's what they did. Ve'ein olin l'sham b'layla el b'nesef kodem alad hashemesh. Ve'ein olin l'seuda zu pachot me'asara. So when did they go to this meal? Right before sunrise, before dawn. They would go up before dawn, in the middle of the night, and it would have to be a minyan. Ve'ein olin la'ela b'pat dagan v'kitnit v'ochlin be'ed ha'seuda. You have certain foods you had to eat at it. Bread and legumes, v'chule. V'zuhi sudat mitzvah shel ibur hachodesh hamur b'chol makom. That's the Suda of all time. What's the most famous Suda Rosh Chodesh? Yes, Haftarat Machar Chodesh, right? That's why they're making a Suda. The Suda is Rosh Chodesh, so make a Suda. But the Rambam's point is, if there was no Beit Din HaGadol to announce Mekudesh and Mekudesh, so what was the signal to the whole world? That they had a special Suda. When? Just before daybreak. Okay. Questions, comments? Good. Can I keep going? Got a lot to cover tonight. Good, please.
And they followed with Korban Musaf that day?
The second day, which is really the first
day.
Yes, 31st day became day 1, and that's when they did the Korban Musaf. Right.
Without the declaration?
Right.
Or automatic?
No declaration. That's actually in the Rambam. That's the Rambam is based on the Mishnah. Mishnah, Rosh Beitin Omer Mekudesh, V'chol Amoni Nachron Mekudesh. Ben Shner Bizman, Ben Shlo Nira Bizman, O Mekachinoto. The Tanakhama says both. Rabbi Elazar Tzadok Omer Im Lo Nira Bizmano En Mekachinoto Shekvar Kidshu Shemayim. It seems that the halacha follows Rabbi Elazar Bar Tzadok. That's the halacha, because we don't. That's what that's. All right, this Rambam Baskin's like Rabbi Elazar Bar Tzadok against the Tanakhama. Now halacha. Where are we? Halacha chet. B'rishonik shehayu beitim mekachim l'chodesh haymesun mesod roshei harim k'dei sheyedu harachokim. I have to pause here to mention we're on a bus on Thursday going up to the Shomron. We passed a mountain, Baal Chatzor. I couldn't help myself so right away. Whoever's on this bus who's in our shir, Jeff was there. Whoever's in our Rosh Hashanah shir. That's one of the main stations in the Shomron. It's the highest mountain that they would be Messiah and Mesuot when they would light the lights on all the mountains from Yerushalayim all the way up north to go out to Chutz La'aretz. That was, we saw it. Okay. Has radar installations on top of it. Mishakilkulu akutim shemesim Mesuot kidei lahat oda da'am hitkinu shiyu shluchim yotzim amodim l'rabim. They sent out emissaries, Federal Express, FedEx for Kiddush Hachodesh. They went. Ushluchim elu ein mechalin Yom Tov vein tzarich l'mar Shabbat shemechalin Shabbat l'kaim bo'el kadsho bilvad. Right? It's not to give the news. You wait. That's all you do. You wait. You do not mechal Yom Tov or Shabbos. When Yom Tov? Rosh Hashanah. So the only Rosh Chodesh is also Yom Tov, but also let's say Shavuot on day 6. So Rosh Chodesh happened, and then came a Shabbos. You're not going to break Shabbos to get the new word out. That's the rule. Al Shisha Chadashim Hayur Shluchim Yotzim Halacha Tet.
They had automatically
from the count.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. I gave a bad example. I was thinking of a holiday that's close enough to Rosh Chodesh, but it's only really Rosh Hashanah. Yeah.
I mean, Shavuot.
Yeah. By the way,
Rosh Chodesh still varied.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It wasn't always 6 Sivan.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, depending if it was. Yeah. So look with me at just. We're not going to see the rest of this parak. There's more about the shluchim going, which months they go. It's what we had already learned previously. Go to page 8, and we skip suddenly to chapter 18. What happened in all the intervening chapters? You'll have to read it on your own. It's too long. We don't have that kind of time. It goes into what the Shana Me'uber it is, and how do you be Ma'aber Shana and Kviyat Chodesh. Uh, um, um, I skipped out, but I will come back to, just letting you know, because it's a sheer in and of itself. Just the Perak Hamishi, I referenced this last year, that Rav Soloveitchik has an incredible essay about this Perak Hamishi in Hilchot Kiddush Hachodesh, because I love it because it's also very, very Tzioni. But this is the Rambam wrote. He didn't write to be Tzioni, he's writing the halacha. Kol she'amar mikviyot Rosh Chodesh, you don't have this. Kol she'amar mikviyot Rosh Chodesh, ala re'iyah ve'ibur hashana mipnei hazman mipnei hatzorech. Everything we just learned about b'ma'aber Rosh Chodesh, extra day, or the year, putting an extra month in, because of the time or because of the need. Ein osino to'ela, Sanhedrin shem Eretz Yisrael, can only be done by the Sanhedrin in Eretz Yisrael, or beitin hasmuchim be'Eretz Yisrael, shenatnu la Sanhedrin reshut. Has to be given over to, if it's a beitin in Chutz La'aretz, they have to have received it directly from the beitin that got, they have to be a beitin that got smicha in Eretz Yisrael. In other words, kimitzion tetzei Torah dvar Hashem Yerushalayim. Has to be from Eretz Yisrael. There is a discussion. I don't want to go into it now. It did happen actually one time with Rabbi Akiva.
I assume that includes Yavne, right?
Yavna's in Eretz Yisrael.
Yeah, okay.
I'm talking about.
No, but
Yeah.
you said they had to, that not only had to be in Eretz Yisrael, but had to receive smicha from the Sanhedrin. So
Yeah, there was an unbroken chain until there was a broken chain. It was an unbroken. No, really, the smicha. Yeah, according to many, the smicha that exists today is not this. Not, unfortunately, that's broke. It's not actually the smicha from Moshe Rabbeinu. The Rambam thinks there are people who have the smicha from Moshe Rabbeinu in this world, like direct. Adiyom Hazeh Shel Rambam, and he maintains it can be restarted even. So anyway, he keeps going. He has the pasuk, and anyway, it has to be the people who are in the place of Moshe and Aaron from the Rosh Sanhedrin. Okay, when there's no Sanhedrin in Eretz Yisrael, then it's going to be aval bizman she'ein sham Sanhedrin be Eretz Yisrael ein kovim chodashim ve'ein me'arim shanim ela b'cheshbon zeh shen mechashvim bo hayom. We have a calculation, and that's how we're going to figure it out when there's no Beit Din in Eretz Yisrael. V'davar zeh alachim mishal misinai it's alachim mishal misinai. That when there's a Sanhedrin, we're koveya by Re'iyah. When there's no Sanhedrin, we'll use the calculation. Yeah? That's what we're using today. And we don't need the Re'iyah anymore. Yeah? And he basically says that's how things function today. And he points out that the calculation was already going from the end of the time of the Talmud, at the time of the destruction of Eretz Yisrael. Misof Chachmei Talmud be'et shecharva Eretz Yisrael v'nishar sham beitin kavua. Avimei Chachmei Mishna v'chem v'mei Chachmei Talmud ad yimei Abai v'Rava al kviyat Eretz Yisrael hayus somchen. Okay, and it keeps describing. There's more and more about this. I'm skipping over it because we didn't learn it in the Gemara in depth. We will get to it another time. And then he tells you the spacing, the placement of the sun, and the mazal, and the whole thing. It's all here. And one of the prakim here goes through like. I put 3 more degrees on this constellation and that constellation, the whole calculations, pages and pages and pages, which we won't have time to see inside. But you get to chapter 18, you see something really, really, really fascinating. So this is what the Rambam writes. Davar Yadua, page 8. Davar Yadua bar. Shim yotzi l'cha chashban, she'yareach yira b'layla, after shira v'after shlo yira, b'pnei ha'avim. Tzimachasi noto, b'pnei ha'makom. Shehu gai. O shahaya har gavoa keneged ruach ma'arav la'anshe oto makom shenimtzu ki'ilu hen yoshvim bagai. Meaning, it's known and it's clear that if you calculate that the moon is going to be seen on a given night, maybe it will be seen and maybe it won't be seen, right? Because maybe it's cloudy. Maybe you're in a valley. Maybe the town that's supposed to be the ones that are within range to see it would have seen it, but there's a mountain on the western side, so now they feel like they're like as if they're in a valley. Yeah. So okay. So if you're in a low place, you're not going to see it. I feel hayagadol v'yir shehu omed b'rosh har gavoa v'talul afal pi sheyareach katan bioter. Yeah, you would see it if you're at a high place where you could look out and see. V'chein yir l'mi sheshochan al sfarayam or l'mi shemahalach b'sfina b'yam hagadol afal pi shehu katan bioter. If you're on the ocean, everything's flat. You're going to see the horizons goes down. You're going to see the moon. V'chein b'yimot geshamim. What if it's very rainy? Im yeh yom tzach yireh ha'yirech yoter mimah sheyirim yimot hachama. If it's a clear, cold day, you'll see it even better than you will during the day that's hot. Why? Because the heat distorts how it looks. But the cold, so the fish should be Morag Shamim, Imia Yom Tzachi Avir Zachar Vira Arakia Bator. Yachad Yeter. Mipnei She'ain Sham Avak She'it Arev Avir. There's no dust, a dust storm. There's no sandstorms, no dust. Avir Morachama, Yavir Kula Hum Ushan. Avak Lira Katan. It's much harder to see in the summer, sometimes because of the haze. He wants to say haze, but that's what he's calling it.
So far, he's just stating facts. He doesn't talk about how to deal with it.
Exactly. V'chozman shtimtza keshet ha'riya va'orech ha'rishon shte ha'rochla im shnei ha'ketzin shalahem b'tzimtzum yirech katan biyoter v'lo yireh b'makom gavo biyoter nimtza keshet ha'riya va'orech ha'rishon aruchin harbe v'sifo al sof ha'kitzim shalahen ma'alot. He's talking about, all the different things that you see in the sky, etc. Right? Yira yireh gadol lefi orech hakeshet va'orech harishon yagadlo gliato lakol. Now skip to page 9. Lefichach. Okay. Lefichach. Therefore, ra'ui lebeitin lasum shnei dvarim ele belibam shein zmanaria umekoma. Two things: the time when it's going to be seen, the beitin has to think of, and the place. And where were you when you saw it? If the scope of vision, the bow of vision, means the horizon was short. So he's giving you all the different degrees that you saw it at. Now, um, where are we here? So Adam Shiro at Hachodesh halacha hey. They saw it in the right time, right? Ubavi idu v'kiblu beitin v'kitchu at Hachodesh azeh harishon umana tisha v'esrim yom mina yom hamakudesh. So they counted. So they accepted it. And then they count 29 days. There was no moon. Right? It was for some reason they were in a place where they couldn't see it, or there were too many clouds. And the Beitim waited the whole 30th day as we described. Right? He's stating a lot of facts, as Art pointed out. There's no halacha, it's just facts. This is actually halacha, but it's the fact of the halacha. Meaning he already talked about this earlier, he's just kind of recycling it, yeah? Or restating it. It's not recycled. So there's nothing redundant in the Rambam. So now they start counting 29 days from this day of Rosh Chodesh, which is now the second day of Rosh Chodesh. So they were expecting day 30, the witnesses were going to come. They didn't show up. So day 31 became day 1. But by their calculation, it should have been the day before, day 30. Instead, nothing happened day 30. So day 31 became day 1 instead of day 30 becoming day 1. You with me? The Rambam now says, now another month went by. They counted another 29 days. And what happens here? All right. So they get to the next one. They count 29. Halach vav. Again, they didn't see the moon. Bo. Obelel Shisha V'Esrim. The Rambam says, what if there was what they call a takala? A takala because there was a cloud cover. A takala because
cloudy several months.
It's cloudy 7 months in a row. The winter, it couldn't happen? Of course it could happen. Right? Mar Cheshvan, Kislev, Teve, Shvat, all those months could keep going. So by the time you get to 3, 4 months like this, 5 months, you might be off of the actual date of the calculation by many days. Now look at halacha zayin. Halacha zayin. Val tomar shedavar zed davar she'enu matzlihu. Shli yirah yirach b'chol hashana. El davar karavu harbe. You know what? You could have a lot of times this could happen. You don't see the moon. Upamim rabot yerazeh. Uchiyotze b'medinot shezman hageshamim sham aroch ve'avim rabim. Right? A lot of clouds, a lot of rain. It could be months and months like that. And I think Sully aptly pointed out, in word, he could have just written the word Chicago. Because you said Chicago, yeah? Or London, since it's in the air.
Kiddush Levana in Miami.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if I'd see it here.
Okay. I said Kiddush Levan in Yerushalayim.
Good.
A lot of Shalom Aleichems. And I saw a man I haven't seen since I was a little boy in Montreal. And he lives in Yerushalayim. I'd not seen him. So I actually literally gave him a Shalom Aleichem. And he, wow. We saw each other. Long time. Actually, that actually happened. It was a Sephardi minion also, like a Sephardi, like a Doda Mizrach, and we're both Ashkenazi, but happened to be davening Marv there. She'enenu omrim shlo yireh yireh b'chol hashana, elo shlo yireh b'tchilat hachodesim, v'yirachar kach b'yamim, pamim lo yireh mipnei she'i efshar lo sheyireh, b'chol hashim she'efshar, sheyireh bahem, lo yireh mipnei avim, o mipnei shehaya katan b'yoter, v'linit kavein, adam liroto. Now you see the arrow that your friendly neighborhood rabbi put in pen over there? I want you to see halacha chet, because this is to Larry's question from before, and it is an astounding statement, but it's the Rambam. So if the Rambam said it, it's the Rambam. Ella hakabala b'yad chachamim ish mipi Moshe Rabbeinu kachi. Here's the Kabbalah that comes down to us from Moshe Rabbeinu. Shebizman shlira yerech b'tchila chodashim chodesh achar chodesh. If many months are going by and you haven't seen the moon, beitin kovim chodesh meuber mishloshim yom, the chodesh chaser mitisha ve'esrim yom. The beitin can be koveya. Notice they're not mekadesh it, but they could be koveya. This chodesh is going to be meuber. It's going to be 30 days, and the next one is going to be 29 days. V'chein v'chashvim kovim chodesh meuber v'chodesh chaser b'kviya lo b'kiddush. She'ein mekachin ela al hariyah. Upa'amim osin malay achar malay o chaser achar chaser. K'mon she'yir lehem min ha'cheshbon. What the Rambam writes here, which is, we've talked about it before, from Halach L'Moshe Misinai, Chazal, all the way from the beginning. They understand exactly how to do the calculation. They know exactly when Rosh Chodesh is going to be. When the Gabbai Congregation or Torah is announcing from the Ezra's Torah Luach, our esteemed Gabbai, Ira Proman, Shalita, says the mold will be dun, 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 dun. It's not a guess. It's not a modern technology. It's from the beginning. And therefore, if push comes to shove, the beitin may be, and here's a new word, koveya, today is Rosh Chodesh, even if they're not actually being mekadesh the Chodesh. Yeah, exactly. But HaChodesh L'Lechem Rosh Chodeshim is supposed to be Kazera Eva Kadesh based on what you see in the moon. But if you don't see it, after a point, the beitin has the power to be koveya it. We are not koveya it now, but we're also not mekadesh the Chodesh now. We're just saying Birchat HaChodesh, and we call Kiddush Levana, which is not really being mekadesh the Chodesh, right? It's really Birkat HaLevana. Okay. Now, why I bring this up is because the Rambam in that Parak Hay I mentioned before, basically, and he's going to say it sort of here again, it was all set up from the beginning. The last Kiddush HaChodesh in Eretz Yisrael, probably a very sad moment because they realized like this is the end, was La'atid Lavo, that every month the Kiddush HaChodesh, but really what is it? It's a kaviyut. Because we don't have a ceremony. Imagine we had a ceremony, we'll get a few of the rabbis to sit, and someone will come in, I will come in, Mekudesh, and they, Mekudesh. Yeah, it would be very good. But we're not being Mekadesh HaChodesh. That's not happening. It's Kaviyah. And it's Kavua because the Beit Din in Eretz Yisrael. Halacha Tet. They already have in mind when they calculate it. Shim Yira Yireach B'chodesh Haba Yibizmana Obeleli Buro. V'lo Shira Kodem Zmano Shulel Shmona V'Esrim. That can be on the 28th night. V'chesmonot Ari'iyah Elu Shebi'arnu Yidba'er L'cha V'teda Matai Efshar Shira Matai Efshar Shira. You have to know when it's possible, when it's not possible. V'alzet Somchin U'ma'abrim Chodesh Achar Chodesh O'osin Chodesh Chaser Achar Chodesh Chaser U'l'olam Ein Pochtin Me'arba Chodeshim Me'ubarin B'shanav L'mosifin Ashmona Chodeshim Me'ubar. Right? There's never fewer than 4 that are Me'ubar, and there's never more than 8 that are Me'ubar, that have 31 day 31 is day 1. וגם לעיבור חודשים אלו, שמעברים בחשבון עושה סעודת עיבור חודש, כמו שאמרנו בפרק שלישי. Right? And even according to the Ibur Chodesh, right? If you calculate it, you still make the Suda of the Ibur HaChodesh. Makes the case for the Rosh Chodesh breakfast. Maybe this was really the source. They used to be, in many shuls, they made a Rosh Chodesh breakfast, but Davka on the second day, when it was 2-day Rosh Chodesh, doing the second day. Maybe this is why. It might be related to Suda Rosh Chodesh. Also, there's a Shaila, there's a mitzvah of Suda in general on Rosh Chodesh. That's why we generally say, because it's a bit of a suffix, because it seems like it was a public, it's not like everybody's making a Suda. So the Beit made a Suda. So if you have a wash and you have a motzi on Rosh Chodesh, if you forget Yalav Yavo, you don't go back. It's not clear there's a Chiyuv of Suda. So look at Allah Yud. V'chostim sebetam midvarim shemarin shebeitin somchin al hacheshben umipi. Everything you find in the Gemara, right? It points to the fact that the beitin they're relying on the cheshbon. Umipi Moshe misinai shador masur lahem v'arshu b'yadam lechaser olaber. This is like such a crucial thing. It's all in the hands of the beitin to decide. It came from Moshe Rabbeinu. The function of the calculation, it comes to Moshe Sinai. What is it? The power the Beit Din has to make that declaration. It is or it isn't the Rosh Chodesh. V'chein zeh chisa Rabbi tisha chodashim b'shana v'chol kiyotze b'zeh hakol al ikar zehu banui bizman sh'lenira hachodesh bizmano. The whole idea that now we have an alternating calendar, right? Elul has 29 days. Tishrei has 30. Cheshvan has, depends on the year.
It depends.
It oscillates, right? Kislev oscillates also, right? Tevet, Shvat, right? Keep going. So it's going to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. That was already set up. But the point is, it's all based on what happened in the times when there wasn't a sighting of the moon on day 30, and it went to day 31, and day 31 became the first day of the month. If that persists over 4 months, they'd already, no, the Beit would just say, no, we're telling you today's Rosh Chodesh anyway. Not Kiddush HaChodesh, Kviyat HaChodesh. V'chein zeh shamru chachamim, shamru HaChodesh l'tzorach, hu b'chodashim elu shema'avim motan l'fi chashbon v'osin echad malei v'echad chaser. Now you understand why it's alternating. Our calendar is not happenstance, it's 29, 30, 29, 30, 29. Why is it doing that? It's because of this. Because once upon a time, the Beit Din sometimes would do an override as well, even when there was Kiddush al Pi Re'iyah, right? So, בזהו שמעבים לצורך, מפני שלא נראה ירח בזמנו, אבל בעת שיראה ירח בזמנו, שהוא תחילת היותר, תחילת היותו, excuse me, נראה אחר חודש או לחסר, בזה שהוא שמעבים לצורך, מפני שלא נראה ירח בזמנו, אבל בעת שיראה ירח בזמנו, שהוא תחילת היותו נראה אחר שנתקבץ עם השמש, מקדשים לעולם, נתקבץ עם השמש, conjunction. Mekadshim la'olam. Then you have to just follow the Kiddush al Pi Re'iyah, and that's the end of it. Has to be when there's a Beit Din and they had smicha, right? And they're relying, excuse me, on seeing things. In our time, it's all set up already. Yidber b'sifrei cheshbon hatkufot. You see right here, Alach Yud Gimel. Yidber b'sifrei cheshbon hatkufot v'gimatriot. She'im yira hayarech be'eretz Yisrael yira b'chol medinot ha'olam she'hein lema'arav eretz Yisrael u'mechuvanot k'negda. V'miten ha'cheshbon shlira be'eretz Yisrael hefshu medinot ha'chirot hein lema'arav eretz Yisrael u'mechuvanot k'negda. It's telling you like the latitude longitude issues. Yeah. לפי הרי יראה ירח במדינה שהיא למערב ארץ ישראל, אין בזה ראייה. שלירה בארץ ישראל אפשר, שלירה ירח בארץ ישראל. If it's going to be to the west, it's not going to work. His point is, everything follows what happens in Eretz Yisrael. Now go to the next page. Last thing for, I didn't realize it would take us as long as it did. Of course, it always does. It always does. Okay, and then he starts telling you about the top of the mountains. If you see this, if you see that, okay. In different locations. Yeah? But in the end, he's making the point that the central determinative place is Eretz Yisrael. Everything flows from that. Okay. Now, you might have thought that it's local. It's local. If you live in Iceland, so you live by the sun, you live your day and your night that way. We don't say, well, is Shabbos over yet? Well, what time is it in Israel? We don't care. What time is it here? It goes by the sunrise and sunset and stars coming out. You could make that case for a lot of things. Go there, but that's the Kiddush about Kiddush Hachodesh. It's tethered to Eretz Yisrael, or very rare circumstances, like one case that I'm aware of with Rabbi Akiva, where something happened where he was like the main gadol. The whole description that there's one person who's like known to be the gadol Yisrael over everyone else. Maybe he could even be in Chutz La'aretz and someone be Makadosh Chodesh for everybody. How did they get the word to everybody? I don't even know. I don't understand it.
And that's why when we do the molad, we say that the molad will take place in Yerushalayim.
Yeah. By the way, in many shows they don't announce that. It's assumed because there's no other molad that matters. But there's no harm in saying it. Now I wanted to show you in Perek Chazar. Here's where he talks about astronomy with the zodiac, right? It's the last parak is chapter 19. So he writes, "Lefisha amar chacham shvich lal dvarim shehayu bodkin bahem re'edim omrim lahem leichad hayarech moteh kasher be'einai lohodia derech cheshbon davar zeh ve'enim is medaktik bo lefisha eno mo'il b're'iyah klal utchila cheshbon zeh leida netiyat hamazalot tchila." Now all of this he's going to tell you about the mazalot and how they function, right? I'm going to note that if you go back, just hold your finger on page 11, flip back to page 1, and look at the koteret. Hilchot Kiddush HaChodesh, the Rambam says, mitzvah aseh achat. What is the one mitzvah? V'hilachashev v'leida v'likboa be'ez yom hutchilat kol chodesh v'chodesh v'chodesh hashana. What is the mitzvah of Kiddush HaChodesh? The mitzvah is one mitzvah, A, B, C. 1A, 1B, and 1C. A, to calculate. B, to know. C, to fix or set. When is the beginning of the month?
There's no word. He says, "Oh, no."
Exactly. Even though it's Hilchot Kiddush HaChodesh. Because ideally it would be Kiddush HaChodesh, but if not that, at least the Kviyut. So the point is, when we're studying this, who knows? Maybe we're getting some kind of a mitzvah, in addition to Talmud Torah, the mitzvah of understanding how these things function in their own right. I'm speculating. It's a little bit drushy, but okay. Yeah.
They declared Adar Bet as the real Chodesh.
Yes.
How did they?
So I don't want to. I can't say that's a very important question. It is a very, very large sugya. I'm telling you the most simplified, I would say, overly simplistic version. Solar calendar, 365 and a quarter days. Lunar calendar, 355 days. So there's 10 and a half days. It works out about 10 and a half days disparity. So approximately. So every 3 years, the disparity is now 30 days off. If you keep going like that, 30, 60, 90, we have to make sure that there's some relationship between the two, because the Torah tells us the relationship between the two. So the corrective is we add a month. And which month do we add? The last month of the year.
No, it's not. Adar.
Yes.
Adar always has 29 days, but when we have two Adars,
Yeah.
the first one has 30 days.
Thank you. The last month of the year is the one that will have a twin. Is that a better way to say it?
Yeah, yes, okay. But the extra one is actually the first Adar.
I'm aware. I was catching me on the dictum. You're right. The point was, you don't do it in Kislev. The month that's going to be doubled is Adar. Why Adar? Because Nisan is Hachodesh Hazel Lechem Rosh Chodesh. Okay? I don't want to say more about it. It'll take us off topic. Chapter 19, it tells you the mazalot. So, Hagula she overet b'machzit hamazalot sheba mahalach hashemesh. Ein overet be'emtza olam mechatzia mizrach chatzia marav elanot hi me'al hakav hashaveh hamasavev be'emtza olam keneged tzafon v'darom chetzan otel tzafon v'chetzan otel darom. Okay, the mazalot. I'm on halacha bet on page 11. The mazalot are passing across the sky. We talked about that. It's a band that crosses across the sky. The sun is actually in front of it during the day, and then you can see it when the sun is underneath on the other side of the globe. The sun is an orbit, the agula, that passes through the middle of the constellation, whatever the constellation is. You never see it because it's too light. Okay? But if the sun went dark, God forbid, because that would be the end of the world, actually, as we know it. But if you could see the sun and the constellation is behind it, and it's going across the sky. So the Rambam says the sun's not going like this across the sky, or actually in this case like this, straight over. It is at an angle, and in fact, the whole of the band is also at an angle. It's not straight up and down. So that's what he's talking about. And he says it's nota for the tzafon and the daram. That's what we're talking about. Okay. So we're not going to read all this here, but if you look at halacha gimel, he tells you the different nekudot, the mazal tzleh and the mazal moznayim, right? The 6 mazalot that are to the north from the beginning of tzleh until the end of betula. So that's from Nisan to Elul, and there's 6 that go to the south. And that's from the beginning of Moznayim. What's Moznayim? The scales. When is the scales? Tishrei until you go all the way around to the beginning of Sartan of Cancer, right? No, sorry, till Moznayim till Mazel Dagim, fish, Pisces. When's Pisces? Adar. Okay.
What's it mean when it says Rosh Mazal Tleh? So that means the Rosh.
The beginning of the constellation of Tleh. That's what it means.
Beginning of it.
The beginning of it. It's not literally ahead. It's the beginning of it.
Right.
So well, again, we're not going. So then the halachadav Rosh Mazel Tleh. Etchil Mazalot Lintot Me'at Lidrachek Me'al Hakav Shaveh Can get Safon Ad Rosh Sartan. Yeah, Rosh Sartan. And he's giving you the names of them. Now we learned this already inside in the color copies that I gave you. So I don't want to go down that rabbit hole again. Very complicated. What I wanted you to see is the Rambam's naming the constellations. He's talking about the zodiac. Now, whether you're going to believe in astrology from a scientific perspective, need I say more? But astronomy also requires a zodiac in order to keep time. The zodiac just means the picture is made of the dots, the connecting the dots. It's a connected dots, the first connected dots of the world, which we're very careful should never be avodat kochavim mazalot. That we're not allowed to do. That's avodah zarah. That's what it means. So the Rambam calls it. So now, when you turn to the last page, you should read the last page of the book to find out how it all ends, right? Look at Tet Zion, page 12, Tet Zion. Right? We've explained all the calculations, all of the ways that we require to know how to see it and to investigate the witnesses. Look at how Rambam wrote that line in there. Yeah? You understand what he wrote? We should be aware that all of this is internal to our system. And that's why I went through all the details about it. And people should not be roving about to find them in other books. Why? Because in the world of the Rambam still, and certainly in the ancient world in the days of Chazal, there was not a book of astronomy in the world that was not also rife with idolatry. Theology was bound up with astronomy. And that was extremely problematic for obvious reasons for us. So we didn't want to expose. So, yeah, everything you need is here. Yeah. So Darshum Me'al Sefer Hashem V'kiru Achat Mehena Lo Ne'edara. Yeah. Nothing's missing. Everything. So it's like he ended with like Hafoch ba Tekula ba. You want to know the science of the stars? I just gave it to you. You know. Now, why is I'm writing that? I just explained why. You know, in a desacralized world, so to speak, where you could have astronomy over here and leave the astrology over there, and the world of mythology, out from a theological perspective. Again, there may be reasons to study those things to know what they're about, etc. But there was a danger that the knowledge of all of this and the spending time studying it in the Sfarim Chitzonim, external works, would lead people down a primrose path to bad things, ascribing power to it, etc. Yeah, and that's absolutely us. So the Rambam says, so I gave it to you here, all the information you need. You should be aware this is what Chazal knew about already from the beginning. It's not, they didn't just make it up as they went along or discover from other peoples. It's part of our Masorah since the time period of Matan Torah. I think I overstayed my welcome. I went an entire hour almost and haven't even, at least we cracked the binding into Gemara, in the Mishna, the Gemara. Let's just do the Mishnah. Can we do the Mishnah? I have 120 seconds left, maybe even less. But at least we say, Did you learn Gemara in the Gemara shir? No, we learned at least the Mishnah, but it's in the pages of the Gemara. So Gemara Chav Dalet Amud Aleph, and it'll bring us to next week is the complication of having to be involved.
Monday?
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
Monday.
Dmut Tzurot Levana Hayulo LeRabban Gamliel B'Tavla.
It's an Uber.
Yeah, exactly. Dmut Tzurot Levana Hayulo LeRabban Gamliel B'Tavla. V'kolta B'Aliyato Sheben Mar Had Yoted V'Omer Hakazera O Kazeh. The Mishnah tells you story number 1 about Rabban Gamliel. The second story is the next Mishnah. So this one says he had imagery of the moon on a tablet, B'Tavla, and he also had it on the wall in his upper chamber. And he would show this to the witnesses, and he would ask them, point to the diagram. It was like a moon lineup. Point to the moon. Which moon did you see? This one? This one? This one? Did it look like this? Or this? So this, of course, will bring about the question, and we'll leave that for next time. This is a complicated thing. The very fact that he would have pictures of a celestial body, recalling that the whole problem is if you'll draw lines between the dots in order to make pictures out of them with names like Tle and Shor and Tomim and the Aryeh and the Betula and the Moznayim. How long is it going to be before you make those pictures on your wall? And after that, look how beautiful it is. Maybe a little movement on my back to show my respect for them. V'chule, v'chule, v'chule. Dun, da, da, da. We're into an Issachar. So we're going to come to the floor about the Knesset another time. That's Taka, a good question. A very important question because we see it. We see it.
Till today.
Yeah, we see it. B'didi havi uvda. I was at the site of the Mishkan Shiloh, and where we think it was, and there's mosaics. Okay, so what is going on there? Come back next week. We'll talk about it more. Adkan for tonight. That's all we got. 7:15 next week. Let there be peace.